Immanuel was born when I was in second grade. And as a young second grader, I was so happy to welcome a little brother into my life. And I too was in the joy of that experience. So I think my interactions with Manny, because Manny cannot actually speak, he doesn't use language like we do. He is very cognitively delayed, so he cannot talk to me like a normal kid would. His way of talking is very simple and small. He likes to make little sounds, he likes to smile a lot, laugh, reach out and grab your hand, or reach out and grab your face. And these simple interactions taught me about the simplicity of life in general. So yes, even though he can't speak to me and his way of communication is not like ours, his simple forms of communication is what makes me who I am. My name is Amilyn Thomas, and I'm the eldest daughter of Jos and Merlin. I also have a special needs little brother who is 11 years old, and he will be the main focus of my story today. So if I'm being completely honest, I did not realize how big of a deal this opportunity was.
Amilyn got this golden opportunity to represent the United Nations Committee for Rights of the Child.
She was very enthusiastic about it, and we all motivated her to do that.
My dad's actually he's a little bit of a freak about lighting and camera and settings. He's a photographer, so he loves doing that stuff. So he helped me remain cool, calm, and collected before my speech.
This is my special pleasure to introduce next speaker, Amilyn from USA.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, and all respected participants. Welcome to the 2021 Day of General Discussion on Children's Rights and Alternative Care. I, Amilyn, am pleased and honored to be speaking with you all today from the United States of America. I personally speak from the perspective of a sister who cares for her special needs brother. I was definitely very nervous when I joined the Zoom that day. It was on a Zoom call. Because of COVID, I wasn't able to actually go in person to the event in New York. But when I joined the Zoom call, there were over 500 participants from all over the world. As a special needs child with extreme physical and cognitive delays, my brother has the inability to communicate for himself. Lucky for him, his devoted family cares for him and helps him to receive proper medical care, education, and therapies. However, the reality of this world is that every child with special needs does not have access to that care. And often that child doesn't even have the option to voice their opinion on what constitutes as quality care. Working with the team for 2 years, not many of my friends really knew what I was doing. My school didn't even really hear about the news. I kind of just thought of it as another extracurricular I was doing, or another way to be involved in something I'm passionate about. I didn't think of it as a big part of my life.
Being with Manny 8-9 years, seeing him grow up, seeing us caring for a kid like Manny, also watching how caring the nurses are, how caring his therapists and teachers are. It is from her life experiences. And she speaks for these children, the values that is instilled in her. We think of that as a blessing, and as parents, that makes us immensely proud of what Amilyn has turned out to be today.
A teenager from Norristown got the opportunity of a lifetime. She actually had the chance to represent the United States at the United Nations.
I have wanted to find a way to be able to speak up for my little brother. He has done so much for me and for my family, being a little angel in our lives.
She got a very personal appreciation letter from American President Joe Biden, and she was invited to capital of Pennsylvania by the state governor, Tom Wolf, and many of the state senators appreciated her, sent citations to her, and our Congresswoman, Madeline Dean, appreciated her.
I was so proud of her passion, proud of her love, and even proud of what she wants to do and continue to do for people with special needs, inspired by her own experience of her brother. She's a special young woman.
The Cardinal George Allen Cherry and bishops of Palais appreciated her. Even Shashi Tharoor, who was the Under Secretary of UN, tweeted about that news personally and appreciated her. But more than all these achievements, as parents, we are really proud and happy about the fact that she came many steps ahead and she became the voice of the voiceless. She was ready to speak for kids like Immanuel, that caring passion towards the kids like this. And that's the moment we realized that Immanuel is a real blessing.
She sees the blessing in Immanuel. She sees the blessing in his love for her and the love he can give to the world. So she used her talents to bring that forward, and I think she'll continue to do that. She's an incredible young woman, and I have no doubt that her speeches and her love for Immanuel and children like him will definitely change the world.
She gave up her life for helping other people. So when you try to spend your time, your energy, and your focus in order to help other people, like Immanuel and similarly situated children, and that God bring opportunities for you. That's the platform she's getting at. It's all because the God is planning and using her, as well as her parents and Immanuel as well, to spread the news to the world.
Her faith is what drives her to care for somebody, take care of others, wipe somebody's tears, and take somebody's pain. I see that she keeps her faith and her God in front of her to achieve and continue her goal.
When Manny was born, diagnosed with the CFC, Cardiofaciocutaneous syndrome, I believe like around 160 patients around the world who were diagnosed with this. So the main issue was there was not enough data on what to expect.
He was presenting with some really rare symptoms. He couldn't digest his food, his heart rate was really fast for a young child. He is the first patient at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where he was treated, to ever even have this syndrome. And very quickly, our whole family became a little scared and a little worried. Now, hearing this as a second grader, I was confused, scared, and still happy because he was still a little brother who was brought into my life.
We didn't realize that it could happen in our life too. After that finding, we slowly realized that it's a very, very rare genetic mutation. With curiosity, when I asked the doctor, is there any cure or what else you could do? Are the treatments available? I still remember the doctor's phrase he has to write his book and we just read it and move on. And we address the situations as it comes. So from that moment, we slowly realized that we are blessed with a special needs child.
going through the experience of the hospitalization of an infant with a lot of tubes attached, IVs attached, everything, that was like something new to us. So to go through that in itself was very hard for us.
There was definitely a lot of isolation at a young age. It was very confusing and hard for me to accept. But as I grew up, I kind of realized the importance of keeping safe and being healthy around my brother, just because he has such a compromised immune system. And then as I kept growing up, the challenges were a little different. It was more along the lines of my parents never being at the events that I went to. I was a big singer and a dancer when I was a kid. I still am. I like to cry from our Indian culture. I just like being different, bring my culture into it. And my brother, he's special needs and he likes the rhythm. So I would have many concerts, band recitals, dance recitals. I was even a field hockey player when I was a little girl. But the one thing that would always make me a little sad was that instead of having both my mom and dad in the audience, it would just be one of them, because the other one would be home with Immanuel. So what we're doing right now is his respiratory treatment. So basically, we do this almost 6 times a day, or every 6 hours a day. So basically, right now we're doing the first part of his treatment. And normally, at least one of us, mom, dad, sometimes me, or a nurse has to be with him during this treatment.
This treatment is really vital, for him, because without these treatments, his lungs could get really sick. And when he gets sick, he needs to be under critical care, like the ICU, because anybody who is on a ventilator, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia admits you in the ICU.
We are always with him, at least one of us, to make sure that he is doing okay.
Yeah, that's like he is sometimes jerks. There is always some neurological activity that's going on. That's part of his syndrome.
So one other big motivation in my change in perspective was really how our home nurses took care of Immanuel.
Give me a tap tap. Good, Manny.
We had a beautiful team of home nurses that they used to work at the hospital, but they shifted their careers to come home and take care of children who are living at home. So these home nurses really became like a second family to me.
Having a special needs kid in the home that needs like a close to an ICU care, we had to restrict visitors to our house. And also, if anybody is visiting, we had to make sure that the visitors, as well as any family members or the people they come in contact with, are like fully healthy and infection free to keep Manny safe. So all of that, took us into a sort of like partial isolation from our friends and families. That was a big challenge for us because we were like, people who are very socially involved.
I met Jose and Marlene and Amilyn and Manuel at Miraculous Metal Shrine when I was the director of communications there. And we became friends. My youngest daughter has Down syndrome. And so I was drawn to them for their story of another child with special needs. And so we became friends, and they would come to the shrine and we would see each other at Mass, and our families would come together for different ceremonies. And it was really a wonderful relationship.
As a family friend, I knew what they were going through. So if you choose to have Immanuel stay home with them, then they have to give up every enjoyment they had, personal enjoyment they had in their life. Vacations, they won't be able to go together for vacations. And the most important thing was about how this is going to affect Amy. Because the time that they were actually giving for Amy is going to change down the road, because those time will be taken away and giving it to Immanuel. It's a tough choice for them. So they decided that we will go forward with taking care of Immanuel at home as opposed to sending him to a place where he can stay with other people, because this is, our son. That's what they both said. Our son, Amy said, this is, my brother. I want my brother to be home with me.
They handle their hardships more like a gift from God. This is what they are assigned to do, to take care of their special needs brother. This way, they can become a role model for other people and an inspiration for other people.
We started slowly getting closer to them. There were so many people whom we had never talked to who came to us or who contacted us through phone or like social media and reached to us telling that they are starting their day with their prayers, and when they pray, they are including Immanuel in their prayers.
So we turned into prayer, and we were seeking help from friends and family and everyone. We were slowly realizing the magnitude of the issues which we are going to face. And through that journey up to now, when I look into the bigger issues for us and families like us around the world, see a chain of prayer surrounding us, like an invisible group of people praying for Immanuel. An invisible spiritual prayer circle was growing around us.
Especially during their daily masses, a lot of priests supported us. So there was a part of isolation that happened from some friends, but there was another part where we got new friends or new family of friendship who were rooted a lot more in prayer.
All through this time, most of the people, those who visit us, especially the priests and religious people, they used to tell us that Immanuel is a blessing. So you are blessed parents or blessed family.
My parents definitely have a very strong faith life. They are some of the most involved people in our church, and I think they're a true motivation for everything that I do.
Look into the cross, you capture life for us.
In their faith lives, they're some of the most strong people I know. I think when you have a child, a special needs child, it becomes very difficult for you to continue your way of living. My parents have had to shift their circle of friends, even the family that the extended family that they have, they've had to shift the relationships they have with people in their lives. It becomes very hard to keep living the way you did before when you have a time commitment with Manny or having to take care of him or just the emotional stress it puts on you. But they never give up, and they are always smiling, and they continue to do everything that they love to do, even through their struggles with Manny.
You are faithful, God, and you're always for me. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So I think seeing that and seeing how strong they are as people, there has to be one thing that is continuing to drive them. And I think that one thing is their belief in God. Because at the end of the day, they know that just because they're dealing with all of these things, they can make it out because God is by their side. So having them as a role model is probably the only thing that has gotten me through this journey.
Amilyn, as a little girl, was inspired by Immanuel's special condition. She was inspired to become a pediatric doctor. And that was an ardent desire in her primary school years. She continued to pursue that dream and work towards the dream.
And I am really wondered, Amilyn is inspired by the situation of Manny and how Merlin and Jose are involved in parish activities in spite of the special need child Manny.
Oftentimes people can be depressed, can be worried about these challenges. We all do. So we live in a world of challenges, sometimes we all, but I've seen them overcoming that. It's not easy because of their prayer and their faith. Moreover, they find time to come to church, actively involved in all the activities there. That's how I know this family, and it's a blessing for the community, and we're so proud of them too.
I guess the main point that I realized the importance of them staying at home with Immanuel was any time that Manny had a life-threatening situation or anything scary happened to him, I would be so happy that there was at least one parent to stay with him. I stopped being selfish and wanting both of their attentions and kind of let them focus on Immanuel a little bit more.
They were able to understand that actually this is something that God gave us. We have to take that as a positive thing, and instead of thinking negatively, we got to think positively and move forward, taking care of Immanuel. That made a big change in their life, actually.
This is more than special needs. Can you imagine having a mini ICU in your house, a round-the-clock nurse watching this child, and she has to study and excel and achieve everything right through the middle of it? It's not even easy for a common person. While even with all those difficulties, I am sure God has given a role. God has given a mission. This is an example we all could use, that no matter how hard the cross that God has given for us to bear, at one point, you still will be able to handle it.
Interacting with Manny so much is that I have a deep love and deep admiration for anyone else who has special needs like him. I think the first time that I really learned that was when I was in maybe 4th or 5th grade. I went to school with Manny. Manny used to go to school at a special needs school around 10 minutes away from here. And when I went to that classroom, there was just a bunch of kids who were very similar to Manny, who couldn't communicate or maybe had some form of special needs. But they all had one common denominator. They were all just so happy. They were smiling. They were creative. They wanted to draw. They wanted to play with their little toys. And I realized that I have such a deep passion for helping them. I just wanted to stay with them all day. So I think being with Manny and being with his classmates that day was the true spark that initiated this passion for advocating for special needs children.
I think our choice made a lot of difference. And it made a lot of difference in Amilyn's life as well. Rather than hiding Manny's diagnosis, choosing to be open and choosing to educate ourselves as well as those close to us became a key factor in allowing us to present Manny to everyone.
Somebody ought to speak for the special needs children. Their needs are different. They're not like everybody else. One day when I met her in church, I asked her, as bright as you are, Amilyn, I don't understand why you don't go to law school and try to run for a senator or something like that. She turned around and told me that I want to go to medical school. Do you know why, Uncle? That is the only way I can wipe somebody's tears and take somebody's pain. And I'm sure that there's a spiritual side to that effect.
Kids like Immanuel is a gift of God, and anyone who takes care of the children of the God will be rewarded, and that is the opportunity that I think Amy is getting now.
It's an extreme pleasure to have Miss Amilyn, the only girl who represented the US and the United Nations at our school. She and her brother has such an inspiring story about raising voice for the rights of special children.
Every time that she goes to India, she got the opportunity to talk about her activities for helping the disabled kids and the special needs children as well.
It was so obvious that they saw their son and their brother as a gift and as a blessing from God. Not as a challenge, not as a cross, but as a loving gift. So I present them to all those parents and families that struggle, really struggle at times with a special needs child, to recognize in that child their specialness, their giftedness, and the blessing that they are. Amilyn and her parents are certainly an example and a model for that, for all of us.
But I do want you all to care for special needs children as much as you can. They're beautiful with big brains and big hopes, even if they may look different than us.
God has a plan, and God's plans may not be like ours. So what we need to do is that we should love God more, and also we should make friendship with the other people. So whenever you need a help, there are a lot of people to help you. You are not alone.
In our life, for a while we didn't realize that, and the moment we realize that Immanuel is a real blessing, we see the happiness and the joy about God's blessing. And all the parents of special needs kids, those who are watching or listening us, could believe in that message that God is powerful, God is faithful, and He won't abandon us. If you are given a special needs child, you are blessed by God.
He is Immanuel, and he was born right before a Christmas season. Every church we went to, we heard, "O come Immanuel," and that constantly reminded us of the presence of him in our life. Yes, he is a special needs child. Yes, he is our Immanuel. He reminds us that God is with us.
So there is really no easy way to sum up my story in one simple short statement. It's not always been a positive, easy time, but I very quickly realized and wanted to reflect on some words that St. Teresa of Calcutta once said. You don't have to go to Calcutta to find a need to serve poor or underprivileged kids. There are Calcuttas everywhere and needs across the world that people are passionate about. I turned his struggles and his life to a positive opportunity to do good in this world, and God helped me to see the good in his life as well. So my message to you all today is to go out and find something in your life. Find a Calcutta that might be negative at first glance, but that you can turn into a beautiful, positive, enriching experience. And God will help you do so.
Are you searching for answers? Discover your true identity. Stay tuned to Shalom World.